Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. We're going to continue with the budget discussions.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. We've got 5 departments that we'd like to review today. We're going to start with engineering and traffic. So we've got the city engineer here. Eduardo, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and Commission. I'd like to take this time, first of all, to thank y'all for this budget process. I'd like to thank Roy and the ACMs, Sergio, Angie, and Cesar for all the work they put in putting this in. Yesterday they talked about how hard it is. I think we saw the overview. There's a lot of work that goes in from each department to get to this point. And so we'd like to thank them, and we'd like to thank you for the consideration you're giving us today. The engineering department is currently managing over $100 million worth of projects and $200 million worth of projects when you include other departments that we carry projects for. That would total over 100 projects right now that are either in design or construction phase of development. The engineering department has 29 employees and we have recommended one additional employee that the city manager has recommended. The department made some minor requests, most of which are related to new positions, vehicle replacements, or replacement of equipment that the city manager has recommended. In review of the city manager's recommendations, we don't have any objections to it. We think it was a well thought out process. I think we got most of what we needed. It's going to help us accomplish the goals that we need to finish those last 100 projects that we have either in design or construction. And I'll open it up if you have any questions. Other than that, we were okay with the budget as presented.
What position is the one that you requested?
So we requested a senior inspector. We have quite a bit of projects. We felt that we needed a little bit of help out in the field to make sure that we're adequately reviewing the projects that we currently have in construction and going to be in construction next year.
So the construction manager position you had requested, maybe Roy, I think thoughts on that? Obviously we've got more projects than we've ever had, really, right? The construction manager takes on what aspect of it?
So we were thinking of that being in between, not necessarily an EIT position, but someone that would not move beyond an EIT position or an engineer and training position where they would manage the project under an engineer, a little more hands-on, more than an inspector. We understand the consideration that the city manager is given. The workload at some point is going to come back to normal, and so there's probably some consideration that once we get past this, in discussions with the city manager, we're not putting that many new CIP projects, and so that's most likely why that position is not being recommended. We hope to get to a normal again, and we think we can manage through this year. We can come back next year if we feel the workload is still intense. We can make that request again.
Do you think that that base salary is, are you going to get somebody competent enough for that? With that base salary?
We currently have an in-house person that can handle that. To get out from the private sector would be difficult.
It's difficult, right?
But nonetheless, we've managed to get employees before. Sometimes they want to change of pace, and we offer things that the outside construction world doesn't offer. And so we've had luck at times. We think we offer a lot. There's a lot of value in the city of McAllen. So sometimes our pay scale doesn't show what the value that we bring, and we get the qualified employees.
You had made requests for 2 additional vehicles. What were they going to be used for, or what purpose?
So the vehicles were approved. If you go through the budget, what was not approved was the depreciation shortage for those.
Oh,
They-
I
They
see.
met their life, but if you
Yeah.
go back to where the city manager's recommendation is, so I think what we're assuming is that hopefully we come within budget.
You can always come back mid-year and make a request if you,
If the vehicle comes in over budget, that shortfall
right,
could be at mid-year.
I see.
Yeah, when we don't fund it like that, Commissioner, that means we're taking it out of, the depreciation fund.
Right.
So it's just gonna take an additional hit. But what we do is we look at the depreciation fund every year, see where we're at, and see how much it can sustain. And so it is funded, but in the depreciation instead
Right.
of out of the general fund.
The question regarding the construction manager, how many projects do we have right now that we have an outside construction manager?
We have over 100 projects, whether they're in design or currently in construction. That includes parks, Quinta, the bridge, other projects that are outside of the engineering capital projects.
I think the question though, and I had the same question, is, do we have, let's say in Quinta, in the major, the bridge, do we have a line item in that for a construction manager?
An outside manager.
An outside manager?
Outside.
Since
Not,
we have
not in
engineering-
this budget,
Pardon?
but, not in this budget, but in Ansal Dos, we have a construction manager as a consultant.
That's what I'm saying.
And so if there would be concern by the staff or the commission about something like Quinta, I would suggest that we do the same thing. And that is go hire a construction manager instead of putting somebody in the payroll and it becomes permanent. That way, when the project's
The one-
finished,
right.
he's out.
Well, and that's what, I think that was the question, that's the question that one. How many of those projects? have that?
There are very few that we do that.
I
Very
know.
few, only the major projects. And Quinta probably could be one of those.
Yeah. Because you still need this person for your other jobs, but I think if you put the San Luis and Quinta and possibly, there'll be others, I mean, we're looking at expansions.
That's definitely something we could talk with management. Roy is correct. The Ansal Duas, SMB or RRP is currently our construction administration. We don't normally do that, but that project was bigger and that isn't built in.
We're gonna have an expansion over here at the convention center, we're gonna have an expansion at the heritage center, we're gonna have an expansion at all kinds, and you need some quality people. And you need to start grooming them in the first 6 months before those start.
Except that we run out of projects and then we
Right,
stop
and
somewhere.
And that's why it's good. I recommend for those kinds of projects that it's project specific. That's what we did at the Performing Arts Center, the Convention Center, the bridge.
How many construction managers do we have right now?
We have 2 right now.
2, and they're able to manage.
Two and
So
90
the
some
engineers handle, so it's kind of deceiving a little bit and I'll break it down for you. The engineers that we have handle a lot of the flat work, site work, roadway, and the 2 construction managers handle most of the vertical construction. So your fire stations, Quinta,
yeah, fire
they
station.
help to do some of the management we needed at the bridge. And so that's kind of how we have it broken up.
But they're not involved in permitting or going to on-site inspections of construction projects that are ongoing where they need an inspection to get to the next level, right? They're not involved in that?
They're not involved.
That's another department, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So then I assume the AutoCAD is for existing project managers.
That one's remain there. We could still use that license. We have a lot of, we share, we're always sharing a license and then we get overages. That's one reason we're okay with that staying in the budget.
Okay. And then, and Roy, for you, how do you, not a big number, how do you calculate negative fuel adjustments? What do you base that on?
On historic numbers. Yeah, we'll look at least one, probably 2 years, and we'll adjust up and down. And then, of course, we have, in that specific line item, we look at pricing, you know,
I
because
was
that's
gonna
been
tell
pretty
you, yeah,
volatile
it's gonna look-
lately.
Roy, did you want me to touch up on City Hall Development Center or
Sure,
just do
yeah.
traffic? There's nothing much on those, so I didn't know if you
Yeah,
wanted
no,
to.
go ahead.
So we have a street lighting budget. We didn't make any requests in street lighting. That budget is an electrical budget. You can take a look at that. That's what we spend per year on street lighting. There is no employee for the street lighting department. It's more just to show we're spending the department request, or the budget is at $2.3 million, more or less. City Hall, the engineering department, City Hall falls as a department, which is the building. City Hall, we currently have 3 full-time employees. It's approximately 45,000 square feet. We've discussed that. There was a minimal request for a cell phone. That is just to get a hold of the janitor or the custodian after hours. We do have emergencies. We work closely with IT. They have our backup. We have a backup system, so we always need to have somebody there. That was the only request. Moving on to the development center, the development, oh, I'm sorry.
Before you jumped, I had a question on the lighting, back to the lighting.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We had 2.5 million, well, 2.6 million the year before. And, because I've only been here a couple of years, and is this been a normal, amount that we spend every year? on
Yeah,
lighting?
pretty much. We're actually, we got a new rate with the membership that we have with TCAP. That's why you're seeing a slight decrease for the coming year. But it's in the $2.5 million range every year.
And what about, didn't we have a lighting, not survey, but we did a study? Okay, where are we up there, and have we finished it, and are we acting on it?
So
And is that, some of that is this?
that
this
falls
money?
in our capital budget. We did put a report a while back, and we can do it again, but, so we've done a survey, we've sent out a list for one of the districts. We're working on 2 other districts. Compiling that list, we'll send it to AEP, and that'll kind of be an ongoing process, because we did the survey, and then we send that over to AEP in Magic Valley. They have to do the design. Once they have to do the design, they send us the request for check, and then we pay them, and they go ahead and start constructing. It's a little bit of a process. We've already started that.
Because in North McAllen, I'm getting a lot of calls on just lack of lighting. And I've seen it too. I just see a lot of lack of lighting in major intersections too.
Are we still performing those audits every quarter, right? Oh, every 6 months.
So usually, like Michelle said, twice a year we do audits twice a year.
And we're adding lights. I mean, we've got a slug of money for every year and for every district that the city commission approves, so that's different than this amount.
But what you're showing us here, the 2.3 is actually the
That's the
electric
electrical bill.
Yeah, it's not the capital outlay.
There's a small line item of 72,000. We use that for very small requests. If you look at there is a small 72,000. So if there's a spot location, that's what we had used. But since then, commission had put a slug through the ARPA funds of 600,000. That's what we're using to try to upgrade some of the areas where we felt they didn't meet the spacing or needed additional lighting.
If I recall, the spacing or the optimal spacing was 600 feet?
It's about 300.
I'm sorry, 300 feet. 300 feet.
Okay.
So we have another line item for development center. That's the building. The development center is approximately 24,000 square feet. We have 1 full-time employee and 1 temp employee that works at half-time or 20 hours. For those of you that haven't visited our building, we get a lot of traffic. Our building department, I've noticed right after COVID, just a tremendous amount of permits, a tremendous amount of people that have been visiting the building. So the custodian and the part-timer have been doing a good job keeping that up. We had one small request for a conference room upgrade. We've done it in the executive conference room. We have a smart board and a document projector. It just makes it easier when developers come in. If they bring an 8.5 by 11, they can put that down and it'll show up on our TV screen or the smart board. And if not, the smart board also helps for the teleconference, makes it seamless. It's worked really well in the executive room. We'd like to put one in planning. We think they could benefit. They get a lot of customers there.
So that's what is this a kind of a package deal of a remodel? 26,000 sounds like a lot for a projector.
So the document camera is about 5,000. The smart board's about 2, but then we have to have someone come in and do the cabling and the networking of that. That's something that Robert, his team helps us with. So it's not only equipment, it's the integration so that it can work with our laptops, and there's a little bit of integration there. And that's an actual price. We did it this year. So the budget we requested is what we've actually gone and solicited a company for before.
You're talking about half that cost in ours.
It's about 16 to 18 in equipment, and then the rest is labor and obviously profit.
It is very neat. Very neat.
The other request there was to replace partial chairs. There is wear and tear. The building's been open for a while. Some chairs the arms are kind of chewed off and stuff. We want to upgrade that, make sure that it looks presentable for the public.
That is the image when a lot of people, developers, especially new ones, investors, you have to portray a good image. That's it.
Yes, sir.
Why don't you give us also an update on the City Hall construction we got downstairs for security?
So at City Hall, we had a capital project to put security. We're gonna move the mail room to the front and then turn the mail room into a small little conference room. We're hoping that by September we'll finish that. If you walk into City Hall, they've started on the mail room. There's some mill work that they have to do in there, and then we'll get the partition or the sliding door. For those that we have customers, we just think it'll be better. At the time when we get that going, we'll close the side door and customers will come to the front, and then the mail room will let you in when you have business or you identify where you're going, and then we can let you up in City Hall. We don't think it'll be that big of an intrusion. It was approved by commission, and we hope by September we'll be substantially complete.
Good.
Same people that go to city commission meetings, come and visit us, so we need a little security.
I have visitors too.
So the last department we have is the Traffic Operations Department. Currently, there's 36 employees that maintain and operate over 200 signals, 20,000 plus signs, and over 550 center line miles that have pavement marking on them. This year, the request proposed to meet the demands for service. Major requests recommended and proposed by the city manager are a new admin clerk, vehicle replacements, 5 battery backup for signals, and new traffic control. The requests that Marlene and her department made were the admin. They're probably one of the 3 or 4 top departments that makes requisitions, invoices, and POs. I think lately the Performing Art and the Convention Center have probably surpassed the traffic department. They do a lot of business. So we're probably number 4, or traffic's probably number 4. But the amount of equipment and POs that they generate rank up there when we look at with purchasing. That's why she made that recommendation. And then the other ones are just small requests to make sure that we operate. Traffic control is always needed. We do a lot of special events. We help out with all the different events the city throws to close streets. And so that's just to replenish traffic control. It's a small amount. It's just one we needed to kind of get that back up to par. Beyond that, we'd like, before we close, again, we'd like to thank city manager, his staff, and y'all for taking the time and listening to these requests. And if you have any questions, we can open it up for you.
Some years back, there was a major project to upgrade all the traffic control cabinets throughout the city. One question I never asked years back was, what's the expected life expectancy? And are we doing any maintenance on that, or does it require any maintenance from a
cabinets,
broken event?
The cabinet, their span life is 15 to 20 years. Most of them we take out to about 20 years. And then we put a protocol in place to do a preventive maintenance once a year on that. So what that does for us is, if there's any time an accident, we've had a certified technician that goes through, has said, I've gone, checked, looked at the lights. We have a little checklist. And so on top of just assuring that we're providing a safe signal for you to go through, it helps us to maintain that. We find a load switch that needs a replacement or a controller, we change that out, small component, not the whole component.
What's the average cost for that cabinet?
The cabinets together with the brains and everything cost about $20,000.
Oh, so it's not necessarily something you would need to depreciate over time, right?
I gotta ask whether I'm not sure if they're getting depreciated or not. It may be
We have about 200, you said 200
we have 200 of them.
traffic control signals, so I figured there's at least one cabinet for every intersection, or?
Every intersection has one cabinet, one control.
There we go.
And that one cabinet, that one control, costs around $20,000?
That's correct.
Like
That's
the-
just
like
the cabinet, nothing,
Right.
not the poles.
The what?
not the
Nothing,
lights.
yeah, it's just the box.
Yes, sir.
When we opened up Bicentennial and 107, that cabinet that was there, that's what that cabinet runs to? $20,000?
$20,000.
Do we need more?
We just made a huge, or we had the traffic bond. We've replaced almost all of the signals or the cabinets throughout the city. So at this time, we can handle that through the operating budget.
We're good.
We're good.
We don't need any extras.
Through the operating budget, we do carry extras. And then in the capital side, we do make requests for new signals that we're building. And that's where we get those at. So we'll carry about 4 signals for knockdowns. For those of y'all, 2nd Street and Olana, we had a knockdown on a pole.
Yeah.
Right.
That could have been a cabinet, so we'll have 4. We'll take one of those spares and we will change it out.
And it did take us some days to
So we have that
Get
covered
it
through
right.
the operation.
now, obviously, we all know that major storm was, not a normal, time or whatever, but, and it was a challenge. And I think we're still trying to get our supplies back to normal,
Yes, sir.
our backup.
With the new cabinets as well, replacing them with the new technology, we're able with the Wi-Fi and the fiber that they can now have health alerts, notifications, remotely manage them with the software that we have. So it works out really well.
That was going to be my question. So we need any upgrades on the software that we're using right now for the proper function and synchronization of the lights?
No, well, I'm not gonna say no, but with the bond, we were able to get, with the Wi-Fi, get them connected, buy more licenses for the current software we have, and get more of the intersection cabinets connected on. So I think it's been a plus.
Robert's correct. We worked with IT. The software was purchased through the bond and all the licenses.
We're good.
Yes, sir.
Para que al rato no haya problema de tráfico. Ah, es que nos faltó.
Thank you.
So is there anything on the wish list that you didn't get, that you really, really need?
Uh,
That's always a question.
Yes.
no. No, honestly.
Don't look at Roy.
Did every department head listen to that answer?
If you, I'll be honest, if you look through this, we got about 95% of what we requested. We worked very closely to make sure that the requests we made were requests that we needed, and to make sure that we're maintaining the level that the city needs. And so we feel very comfortable with what's been recommended and the level we're at.
So Roy was kinder and gentler this year.
I think it
Very
was my
kind.
second year, and I was smarter in making the request that made sure that it was what we needed.
Excellent, thank you so much.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
If we're the 2-year historical 60K maintenance on the vehicle, is that saying one vehicle or just vehicle in general, the fleet?
I didn't hear that, Commissioner.
On traffic, the 19,200 request from the department, if they're saying there's a 2-year historical 60,000 maintenance on a vehicle, one vehicle or just vehicle in general?
That's just a general.
So is that escalated? Is that high? The maintenance number?
Vehicle maintenance.
So that comment comes from our fleet. Couldn't comment. So what we do is we look at the average. Well, we look at the average of what we did on maintenance, and then we project out that we need additional. So for us, it's an average of all our vehicles. If we have 20 in the fleet,
Yeah.
the maintenance number we have, if we're over, then we divide it out equally, but inevitably one car may take more maintenance than the other. Our bucket trucks eat up most of that maintenance when we do PMs.
There was a request for a bucket truck. Did we buy a bucket truck last year?
Yeah, we bought a couple of them
We did.
for another
It
department.
was for Parks and Rec and engineering, right?
Did we buy
Did you
one
have
Wi-Fi?
No, sir, we
didn't. Oh, I think it was code.
No, sir. The bucket truck was for the code enforcement for the cameras, right? To move the cameras around. IT had talked about possibly needing a bucket truck.
For the maintenance?
For maintenance on the Wi-Fi. But since we outsourced the maintenance on the Wi-Fi, we've been able to share with traffic and utilize their bucket truck.
So when they say 60,000, the 60,000 is what was budgeted for the year.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions? We can go to parks.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Eduardo.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Commissioners. Thank you for taking the time. As Eduardo mentioned, we go through this process, and I want to thank Angie and the Budget Committee and Roy for helping us through this process. As you know, Parks and Rec oversees 8 different divisions. 3 of those under my Parks Division, under our Parks Division, which includes building maintenance, and then 5 under the Recreation Division. So this year, as you know, again, we are heavy on the capital outlay request. That specifically goes towards building maintenance 1812 and Parks 5104. And so very appreciative of what was recommended by CM. Looking back through the budget with the team over the last couple of weeks, again, very appreciative of what we were able to get and the recommendations. And so we're very pleased with that, especially with some of the equipment that's needed. Again, to Eduardo's saying that, to hold that expectation with the city of McAllen and the residents here on the expectations of maintenance. And so I'll leave it there, and I'll open it up to any questions that you may have on any of the divisions. That's regarding requests or questions just on general.
When are you moving to the new building?
Currently, we are in the process of obtaining the furniture this week. I believe furniture, we have another shipment coming in by August 14th. So end of August, we're hoping to move into the new facility.
There's an item here that I see for special fees for a credit card. That's the fees that
That's the processing fees?
that's charged to us.
That
the
one is
city?
in It's the processing fee we pay to the merchant. So we're gonna take a look at it this year to see if it's gonna be more. If it is, then we're gonna look at maybe passing that cost on to the customer.
Oh, this is us buying from the merchant group? No,
No, it's every time there's a credit card processing fee that we use
from a consumer.
from the consumer, right, we get.
So why aren't we passing that fee on to the consumer?
So we were talking about that this year.
Because I do.
Right, and so other departments are headed that way.
Okay.
And so at the beginning of the budget process, that's something that we did discuss. We'll see where we end up this year. If it's not beneficial for us, then next year we'll start pushing that cost back on to the
Yeah, Commissioner, we're gonna put a report together citywide, because we use credit cards in a lot of different locations. And so some departments, I call it eat it, and some have the purchase or pay. It's a big deal, you know, when we do that, the customer complains, right? It's anywhere from $3 on the bottom side to all the way to 3% of your purchase. So it can become big dollars. For the most part, we do not charge the customer, and it's a discussion that we want to have with the city commission in general for the entire city.
We went through that
We did that at the
at
PUB.
the PUB.
Yeah.
We went through that, and it was, a year, it was still, and then afterwards, it's
Right.
pretty common.
Because all vendors, as you know, pay a fee,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Anybody that takes a card has to pay that fee, and you're seeing that more and more.
And there's
Wherever
plenty
you
of
go.
vendors out there to be competitive. I mean, I don't know if we do it individually by department, or we do a RFQ to handle all the departments. But I mean, there's some that can go down to 1.5%, maybe 2%. And I mean, it's a very fierce
Yeah,
industry.
well, it has to, what they're trying to do is, I mean, they're gonna have to have a profit, right?
Right.
But the credit card itself charges that fee. The credit card itself charges a fee. And so the question is, do you want to, get that money back or not? And at the PUB, I mean, it was a big number.
Right.
And it was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
How many
that we spent.
transactions percentage-wise, like credit card and how many cards?
I couldn't figure it out. You
Ballpark.
know what, Ken, here?
It varies from department to department.
Okay.
We're looking at that. Some of the challenges, you'll have certain software providers of your court system will say, we only work with this merchant to interface with our court software. Parks and Rec,
Yeah.
they have their
another-
preferred provider. And so as we implement ERP, we're gonna try to bring in as many as we can to one credit card processor. We'll bring back the option as far as using that third party vendor where the fee and revenue are collected outside the city, we don't see any of that, versus assessing the fee, us collecting the fee and also taking the expense.
Because, like on the PUB, you have the option to pay cash or credit, right?
Mhm.
Like in parks, you have to go through
to the online.
to the.
So
portal, and you don't-
76%
you
of
don't
our
have that
customers go
option. You
through
have to either.
a credit
Do
card
it
transaction.
So,
What's the percent then?
76% of our customers
Pay
pay.
with credit card?
Yes, sir.
But also, transaction size is what?
Well,
Average.
it's very minimal, right?
That's
Because we
right.
provide services that are affordable to the community. So, one class for 4 weeks is $15, right? 8 sessions for 15. So when you're looking into the summer months, maybe when parents are putting kids in multiple camps, that's when your prices will tend to increase there. But leagues.
that's how I know.
So,
But
3% fee would be
Right, yeah, or actually, for a transaction like that, it's a flat fee, and so
like
it's worse.
$275. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
worse.
it's $3 out of a $11 transaction.
Yeah, it's like
It's terrible.
you turn on the ticket
Yeah.
master.
Yeah.
Well, like Sergio said, a lot of our credit card merchants that we have to select from, we're very siloed based on the software that they're using. Going with a new project, the ERP, going to Oracle, we're going to be able to take utilities volume, all the other, departments that are coming on board, our permitting, our code, health, all those are now going to be under one software. And we'll be able to take ACH, if we want to choose to take ACH payments, e-checks, credit card payments. So we might be able to avoid or offer more to the consumers that they can avoid credit card fees by doing e-checks or ACH payments.
Exactly right.
Where we can't do that now. And then we'll be able to leverage our volume of credit card transactions down to one merchant, because we're consolidating down to one software, and then finance can negotiate with that merchant on the fees.
I'd like for us to be a little cautious. I don't know how to say this, but I've gone to many a sporting event at our school districts, not only this district, but throughout, from Rio Grande all the way to Brownsville. And every school district now does not accept any cash. So you're going into, to get to entrance, right? And you have to have a credit card. You cannot go in with cash. I mean, there's many a times that, I'm talking many a times in years, last 3 or 4 years, that, you know, the grandparents they don't have any credit cards, they don't know how to use that, whatever that. They're trying to go see their whatever, and somebody picks up their entrance fee, whether it's not me or somebody else that is hearing this thing going on, and it happens. Swimming meet, this, softball, baseball, whatever. And I just don't know how, where are we accepting any cash at all on the entrances on our facility?
We do for the TAP games, regional games. We did pre-sale tickets just because we knew the lines were going to be long, so we did pre-sale, but we did take cash.
I would hope that we would.
Yes.
Is what I'm coming
Yes, sir. We did take
that
cash
we don't get
at the window.
so impersonal because
Yeah, no, everywhere that we collect fees, we will take cash.
we'll take that.
Correct.
Yeah, I just don't want to get that impersonal because I see it everywhere. And it's a little embarrassing sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it makes us inefficient, right? But we also know that our community, a large part of our community is a cash community.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna have that discussion and bring you some numbers of what we're looking at.
All right.
Anything else that I can?
We go to the capital outlay on this. You asked for a lot.
Yes, sir.
Out of the ones you didn't get, if you had to pick one,
If I had to pick one, it would be a mowing implement, sir. For our, the mowing implement is, it's an attachment that goes onto our Kubota tractor to cut grass, but bigger acreage of land, right? So you're not gonna take a zero turn and go to McCullough for the Morris RDF to cut. And so this Kubota tractor we did get about 2 years ago. The current implements that we do have, we got 4 other implements, but the ones that we do currently have don't fit this Kubota tractor.
this is something that we don't have capacity to do.
We do.
Tractor does, but we do not.
Right, we have the tractor, but we don't have the implement on that one. So we do have 3 other implements for our John Deere tractors that we're able to utilize.
How much was that? Yeah.
Which equipment?
That
is
one, I believe, was $20,000, $22,000 for that implement.
Y'all want to toss that one in?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's under what?
Under his.
That's under
What are we gonna take
5104.
out?
Page 46.
No, I mean, like,
$8 million.
Roy took out $700,000.
yes,
Yeah.
46?
Take out those, pick one. It's like putting your hand in the jar, just grab a piece of equipment.
Well, if I gotta take something out, I'll forego the
Yeah,
implement.
46. One of the things is like, I see that we're gonna start increasing a couple of parks, new ones. You're not asking for any people right now, right?
What we did a lot of reclasses. We did ask for a maintenance tech at the new facility, but I think we'll be able to make it work. We'll just see this first year what it's gonna take. On parks, we didn't ask for frontline staff. Currently, we have 23 vacancies on the parks end, which we've seen an increase in the last couple of months of hiring, and we're always having those positions posted every week.
Okay,
But the issue is we hire one, we lose one.
yeah.
We hire 2, we lose 2. So So the request didn't come there because I still need to get, I think we're about 83% capacity on
Okay.
parks and about 90% capacity on the rec side.
Like sometimes if we don't have the budget, per se, to hire somebody new, good equipment makes up a little bit of that. That's what we do in the county sometimes.
And so we saw that this year, and we were able to make it work, and we're confident that we'll be able to make it work next year as well.
How many pools do you, are you in charge of, as Parks and Recreation?
We are in charge of 4 pools.
4 pools. And in looking, okay, yesterday I came early to this area to look at the facility in front of us that will become a beautiful futuristic. Okay, tech place, whatever, okay? And then I went over there to Los Encinos Park, right? So I could drive in and see it, and I noticed our pool was not open. And then I got on the website and I look at the hours that we're open. Is there a reason why we're, not open more hours?
More hours. So this year, and again, going back to COVID, we've faced a significant decrease in number of kids that want to come to be employed as lifeguards. And so, one of the things we're still facing is this year we try to, based on the number of lifeguards we've got, not eliminate any of our programs that we do. Yes, of course, it's going to make sense that we reduce the number of programs we have, but we don't want to completely eliminate our rentals, our public swim, our lap swim. And so this year...
Yeah, I noticed that, you open up early for lap swimmers
Correct.
and whatever, and then close during the middle of the day.
Correct.
And then I looked at the other, and everybody's got different hours.
Yes, sir.
It seems that way, right?
So Muni Boys and Los Encinos. And again...
But it's a lack of use or people wanting it?
It's a lack of staffing.
Well, that's what I'm
Yes, sir.
getting at.
So-
Why it's, especially during the summer,
Correct.
it's,
Especially this summer because
should
of the
we
heat.
put more staff in?
Yes, sir.
You can't
Yeah,
hire
well,
them.
you know,
Huh?
You
getting,
can't hire them.
You
That's-
can't hire.
Yes, sir, they're not.
Large shortage of lifeguards.
Yes.
It's a total lifetime.
Yes.
we actually increased that specific salary
Right.
this past year.
Huh?
We increased that salary, lifeguards, to try to bring more people in.
Really?
Look, if you look at our turnover, that's the problem that we have, is it's not, 9 years in a row, this city management team recommended people for parks, in a row. And so this year we didn't. But we have a lot of vacancies. We got 24 vacancies. What we have to focus on is compensation.
Right.
Okay, because if the compensation was right, we wouldn't have the 23 vacancies. And so that's a conversation that we need to have. Instead of trying to add people, I'd rather put it to compensation.
But Lord, who's beating us still? Other cities? Because the private sector is not. I mean, look at the fringe benefits the city has compared to the private sector.
No, it's not the
Doesn't
private sector.
even-
Not those kinds of jobs. Like HEOs and drivers, we do lose to the private sector because of the CDL licenses. But they go out to the oil patch and make 3 or 4 times what we pay. But in this case, we do lose them to other cities. A couple of cities around us in very specific areas do outpay us. For the most part, they don't, but in that kind of job, they do. And so, if you had 5 vacancies and we needed help at the parks, we would be adding people. But we have 23 vacancies. And so, we need to keep working at it.
I mean, just an example, we had interviews last week. We liked the candidate, we called him back, and he took a position with the sheriff department. So, yeah. So
What? I didn't hear you. What?
we had interviews, and so when we like applicants, we call them back, saying, hey, you know what? You're going to go to the next process. They've already accepted another job somewhere else. And so Again, there, people are looking to work, but again, I mean,
And Roy, this is everywhere.
Yeah.
In my office, where the starting pay is 65,000, we are losing misdemeanor prosecutors to the Attorney General's office that do child support. It's everywhere. And you're right. This is not a employee, we need another employee. This is where we just need to fill the vacancies that are already there. And that's the issue. You don't have the manpower, not because you're short, you're just not fully staffed.
correct.
So out of the vehicles that you didn't get, like Commissioner Haddad asked, which one is the
Yeah.
one that you prefer?
Needs to be addressed.
Sear turn mower,
Oh, no.
front
It's
loader?
the,
And
Which one is it?
it's a mowing implement.
Roy already let it in.
So Roy, kind of continuing on this.
Mowing implement?
Yeah, it's just a bigger, more area. It covers more area, right.
When do we expect to have that conversation?
Here in the next week or two?
Next week?
Yes, sir. Yeah, you need to decide on compensation in general, but as you know, we started low. And, we feel that we're right at the place that we can no longer take a lot more expense. But if we're gonna do it, we need to do it there,
Right.
in our opinion.
So we have budget hearings, okay. This is the second one of 7.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll take some things into consideration.
How many of those zero-turn mowers do we have?
We have 14 zero turns. So we are good. I believe we had gotten one this year that will make it 15. We do have one that's the motor's out, so that's going to go replace. But we do have enough for our ball fields and our grounds maintenance crews to make sure that each of those teams do have a zero turn mower.
I see two pieces that are 15-year-olders. The front loader, that seems like an old piece of equipment already. Front loader, so probably at the end of the machinery and equipment.
Yes, sir. We currently have 2 front loaders, and so we don't use them much, the front loaders. But yes, that one is getting up to that age with the cost of repairs, and so
You don't use it much.
correct.
Count-
We have one
count-
in
count use it a lot.
inventory, right?
That's why I see operational
Yeah.
sometimes because I go to this thing. Okay.
Well, we use a lot of front loaders in public works.
Yes.
But not so much in parks.
We go by hours, so.
Yeah. That was on the page.
But you have the little stuff, and less than 5,000. I mean, do we need, like I see, like a mobile compressor, we have others that we can utilize, or, because, we're good with
Yeah,
that?
we're good there. We reassessed it. It's just the wear and tear coming on it now after multiple.
Even if necessary, even during the year if necessary, it's a little bit.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and yeah, with those things we can take a look at our general fund.
Very good, to move on. Anything else, Gary?
No, sir. That's all for me.
Thank you.
I like the
Thank you.
fringe benefit, we like the fringe benefits in the city. Is there any positions for us? That's almost a third of salary.
Yeah, 25%. You still can't hear people. Chief. Okay, so we've got some emergency repairs that we're doing outside of this. Any other question of Bill?
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.
All right, we got Police Chief Victor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. I came here to settle, but since you're in the spirit of giving,
That was 5 minutes ago.
and somebody wrote on the board over there, whatever you want. So plan was number 3 because I had time to make a list. So I've just tried to simplify our budget presentation. I want to start as well with our thanks to the city manager and the budget office staff for the work that they do with us to get us to where we're at today. The spreadsheet that I put in front of you is, if you look at the far right 2 columns, that is the city manager's recommended budget. And the far right column is the difference between what he's recommended and what we began our budget request with, which is the 3rd column from the right. The difference, there is effectively there is no difference, and the city manager's recommended budget at $42,060,000 is inadequate budget for McAllen PD and 461 employees that are authorized at that department. The difference of 189,828, that's just a matter of people moving within the pay structure and the corresponding benefits reduction with that. The minus 243 in fuel and lubricants, that's the adjustment for the fuel cost. We may have to look at that again, maybe at the mid-year next year, because right now fuel is going up again. But for now, it's based on what it's been tracking here more recently. But it's going, in the last few days, it's been going up. The minus 171, that's the depreciation negative for us for 12 units that have been authorized for this budget cycle. That moves over to the depreciation fund. The only item that I've shaded one item in blue there, and that's the maintenance, the building maintenance line item. And in the last few weeks, we've had 2 air conditioning failures at our building. Our building is the environment system in our building is a composite of 14 different air conditioning units. 11 of those air conditioning units are due for system replacement. That is the entire system replacement through ARPA funds, and that project's been authorized and approved by you. It's in the making now, but it will be late this year, early first quarter of next year before they get installed and all that work done. So that the other 3 units are the ones that are failing us right now, and so we authorized one for purchase. We brought that to you back in December. That cost us about a little less than $60,000 for just the condenser unit, 40-ton condenser unit. I've had a failure now again, and another unit's failed. We prepared an agenda item for you for the next meeting. That's going to cost us about $55,000, $56,000 to replace. So we think that this one that we're coming to you with, and by the way, when that fails, we've got to make arrangements to have emergency cooling. So we get a temporary unit. We pay for a temporary unit to come in. They install it. They put tubing into the building, and that's how we get temporary cooling until we get the replacement done. So the unit that we're coming to you with next week or the next meeting may not get here till next year. Again, in discussions with budget, whether that needs to be encumbered this year or we add $50,000 into the building maintenance line item. That's why I shaded that in blue. Then this will be the time to add $50,000 to the line item. It's just an expense of maintaining that building and the air systems in that building. So other than that, the city manager's recommended budget is satisfactory for us. It includes our collective bargaining agreement obligations for the next year. They're already built into that budget. So it's a good budget recommendation, and we appreciate the opportunity to expand on it here today. So with that, I'll answer your questions.
So it looks like you got everything except for this 50,000 that you're recommending.
Yes, sir, and that
Okay.
50,000 is late coming. We've been
Yeah.
dealing with that the last few weeks.
And it's gonna be needed, whether it's now or a few
Yeah,
months from now.
Yeah, we're coming to you to approve it, whether we
Yeah.
do a budget amendment to current budget. One of the discussions I've had with our budget office is that although we're trying to get it done, approved now for order, it'll be next year before it gets here and actually becomes a payable until next year. So if we agree with that concept, then we would add 50,000 to this budget, to this line, to this current budget for next year to cover that expense.
Should we just go ahead and add it?
Yep, let's do
We
it.
order it already,
Yeah, no, in order for us to order, we probably need a budget amendment
well,
now.
let's do a budget amendment now.
And put it on the agenda.
Yeah,
Okay.
instead of, we'll just do it now and. take
Yeah,
it
that's-
forward.
No, no, no.
And that's what we did last time around. Again, these are, we budget about $135,000 for building maintenance. I mean, you take a hit like this, like we did last year, that's $50,000-$60,000 right off the budget. You know, so, and then that's just the replacement unit. We'll spend another $8,000 to $12,000 in a temporary unit. We did one a year and a half or so for the court. We did one for the jail here for the December project. And now this third one that failed us here in the last couple of weeks, we're going to replace that. Hopefully nothing goes out until we get those 11 that are coming in through that project, and then that should cure the systems. But yeah, so we can. We've got a budget. I mean, an agenda item coming to you, asking for authority to authorize a PO for the replacement unit that we're speaking to now. And if you want us to do a budget amendment, then we'll follow that with the budget with this year.
Chief, when was the last time that we branded McAllen Police? Like the colors of the units and all that? Remember it used to be like blue and yellow before, and now it's like red and blue? When was the last time that we did it?
It's been a soft transitioning. I would say 4 to 6 years, the last time we did any kind of changing to the logo system. I mean, the logo on our units.
I was talking to Officer Zapata yesterday there at the Meta.
Yes, sir.
I mentioned that, well, I asked him if those were the vehicles that Chavez said. He said no, but that they were pretty old, so we're gonna get new ones?
A new
New vehicles? Units?
in this budget. Yeah.
No, I'm asking because Zapata had mentioned that we were gonna get new ones, so I didn't know.
No, there are 12 units in the budget.
We got some new ones last year. You could
Yeah,
tell
every
us.
year.
Every year there's something.
Yes, sir.
You could see.
Yeah, we've got a fleet that requires us to replace units every year. We'll have a low year of anywhere from 12 to 15, and then we'll have a high year, sometimes 20 to 25 units.
So right now, we're approximately around 400 in your department,
461.
and then,
That's our authorized budgetary strength.
Chief, you mentioned that every, like 4 or 5, that's the last time we changed the decals or whatever,
More or less, yes, sir. Yeah, I would say about 6 years or so. We did a little bit of we went to a new shield. And then we changed some of the logo systems on the units to match the new shield or to accommodate the new shield. The new shield, the new badge includes now the City of McAllen seal in the center as opposed to the State of Texas seal. So that's when we made that change.
But I saw some vehicles from Mission, and they had pink ones and
Green ones, yeah. Yes.
Rainbow, yeah.
Thank you, Chief.
Nothing wrong with that. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Fire? Fire Department, Chief Gloria.
Yes, sir, thank you. Mayor, Commission, Mr. Manager, thank you for the opportunity. Real quick, Ms. Angie, Scott and Maria, thank you for all your help. There's been a lot of help. In regards to the city manager's recommendations for this incoming budget for the fire department, considering we are a department of 202 strength, including uniform personnel and civilians, communication specialists, and so on. The city manager's recommendation right now is a solid recommendation. It will suffice the incoming needs of the McAllen Fire Department. It's a substantial request that we have, and we're basically pretty happy and satisfied with it. Just some of the highlights on that in terms of new positions, we are recommending and requesting a consideration for a new captain position that will be going to the Administrative Support Division. This is basically our logistics division. As we know, our department has been growing, not just in staffing, but also equipment, vehicles, and facilities. We have 2 new facilities under construction right now. This division is the division that basically is the circulatory system of the department. They are the ones that get us all the equipment, contracts, purchases, inventory, supplies. You know, without them, you know, the fire trucks really don't go out. And so, as that division, as the department continues to grow, what that captain would be doing we would be dividing that logistics division into 2 sides. You know, it would be our vehicle maintenance, equipment maintenance, and so on. And we would have inventory control, supplies, contracts, purchasing, and stuff of that nature. We do have staff that is doing that right now. We have 1 captain with 2 civilian staff. However, it's just the growth. It's just the growth. This position is a position that was part of the 5-year plan for the department, and the time is here. And so, in terms of new positions, that is 1 position that is being recommended for this incoming budget year. In general, in terms of line items, we went through all of the different line items that belong to the fire department, and we went back 3 years, got the averages of those line items that have consecutively been on the red for one reason or another. And so the increases that have been requested are increases, just percentages of those shortages that we had in the last 3 years. And city manager is also recommending those increases that have been requested. Some of them are small, some of them are a little bit more substantial, but nevertheless, again, is based on the averages of the last 3 years. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm going a little fast with the information here.
But just so you know, let me just interject on the staffing, the item number 4 or dispatchers. We actually approved that at mid-year, so that's why they're not.
Oh, I see.
Yes, those have already been approved, and we're in the process of trying to hire to fulfill those positions, so we appreciate that. In terms of compensation and other benefits, it's important to mention that, of course, that the CBA requirements, the percentages, the increases and all that, that's already being accounted there into those amounts, and of course, that's already part of this. In terms of vehicles, we do have a few rollovers that are identified here, but most of those vehicles that are in the rollover, either they're already here or they are about to get here. And so that's going to be coming to fruition here very, very soon. And in terms of replacements, we're getting an SUV, the vehicle for the 24-hour arson investigator that is on shift, and the replacement of our 22-year-old water tender or tanker that we use for areas in which we don't have hydrants. That one is also being recommended, and of course a pumper for the replacement of engine 7. That truck is 15 years old. One of the biggest challenges that we've been seeing in the recent years is the lead time that it takes to acquire a fire truck, and right now we're looking at about a 2-year lead time for those vehicles. So it'll still be a while before we're able to get that truck to hit the pavement here in the city of McAllen. And so those are the vehicles that are being recommended. Those are the vehicles that had already reached their recommended depreciation schedule, and they are being recommended by our city manager.
Right, and so I want to point that out, that although it shows that it's not, that's actually in the depreciation fund. We are funding a new engine for Station 7 and the pump and the
water
tank.
tank.
Yeah, the water tanker, that is correct.
Oh,
That probably won't be till 24, 25.
yeah, probably end of 24.
So when are we supposed to, the Tres Lagos, when is that supposed to be done?
That one, I mean, we just programmed recently. That one, hopefully by around this time next year, we should be coming to closer time. I mean, that's also working together, of course,
But
with
the
the engineer.
necessary equipment already has been.
Yes, no. As a matter of fact, the brand new engine for that should be getting here within the next couple of weeks.
There's been some delays because, of course, supply chain issues and so on to be able to completely equip it. But that truck should be getting here way sooner than later. You should be getting a notification for a pushback ceremony, hopefully here within the next month.
Hopefully I'll make one.
Yes, sir. So,
Yes.
so yeah, so that's the status of vehicles. Then just jumping into computer equipment and softwares. One of the biggest improvements that we're going through right now is the new records management system that we're going through. This includes the mobile data terminals and the apparatus, software equipment, and so on. With that in mind, there are some items that are being addressed here, and our city manager is recommending approval for some additional items that we're going to need to continue bringing that full project to fruition. It's been about 2 years of work and preparation for. And right now, we're literally going through that process of implementation. And so this will continue to help us complete that project here into the next fiscal year. The next items is basically equipment and stuff that our firefighters, first responders need out there in the field. We're talking about radios. We're getting a substantial amount of radios. We created a 10-year rolling budget plan internally in the department to be able to account for all of our radios, that, what is their expected longevity, what radios are no longer going to be supported by the radio system. And so based on that, there's a larger amount of radios that are reaching that point, but the city manager's recommendation gives the opportunity to spread that out over 2 to 3 years. And so we are getting a substantial amount of radios, both portables and mobile radios. Some rescue equipment, we refer to them as RIG bags, rapid intervention team bags. These are for the, God forbid, instances in which a firefighter may be trapped. This is equipment that is necessary for that additional team to go in there and get them. We do have several sets of vehicle extrication tools in our city, and we're getting one recommended, and that will be replacing a set that is already about 13 to 14 years old. And also we got some recommendation funding for getting some rescue airbags. All of this is equipment for vehicle rescue and extrication, and it's equipment that is good for replacement. Here, in terms of health and wellness, same thing. We did a full inventory of our entire department in terms of that type of equipment. We created a 10-year rolling budget plan and started spreading out those needs throughout several budget years. And we are getting a positive recommendation from our city manager to replace some treadmills, some rowers, and some other fitness equipment. Personal protective equipment, same thing. We got a positive recommendation from our city manager. And we're talking about the bunker gear that our firefighters wear and some additional supplements. Ammunition for our arson investigators, medical bags for bleeding control in scenarios and so on. And so with that, I'll close it, open up for any questions. We truly have a solid recommendation from our city manager. It will suffice for needs for the incoming fiscal year.
Under machinery and equipment, both under portable radios and mobile radios, when you mean obsolete, you mean like non-functioning, or they function but they're no
This
longer?
is my radio, and this is one of those radios. These radios are quite old in terms of not just an age but technology. And so if this radio breaks, there are no parts anymore. We can try to cannibalize from older radios to kind of refab it and try to get it going, but that's it. I mean, these are discontinued models. These are radios that are older than 8, 9, 10 years old. And so that's what we mean by obsolete. There is no guarantee that if they break, they malfunction, we can't really fix them. Even when our radio shop tries to push new updates through them, a lot of times they don't take the updates, and in some instances, they even basically fried in the process.
Right.
And in the process of trying to upgrade them, they actually go bad. And so we have right now about 50 portable radios that fit that category. And we're getting 25 this year, and the plan is to, in subsequent budget years, to try to continue to replace those as the time comes up. It is important to mention that we do have some radios coming in through some grants, different funding sources. And so we're working, on other angles to try to supplement this need.
When you say 50 out of what?
50 out of close to 80 portable radios.
Oh, so this is more than
Yes,
half.
it's substantial. It is substantial.
How long do they last?
Well, It all depends. Administration, they can last about 8 to 9 years if the technology continues to support it. In operations, you know, it's about 4 to 5 years. They take a beating out on the trucks and go on fire.
But the old ones jive with the new ones, they still.
Yes, they're able to, but yes, you know, when it comes to updates, you know, there are some times where they just won't take the updates anymore.
Yeah, they're okay.
Technology-wise, they're not compatible to receive those updates that are necessary.
And all we're trying to do is break it up in 2 years. I mean, half of the radios are not gonna go out. Statistically, that's just not gonna happen. So,
Until it happens.
yeah, no, it won't happen. So, we can wait and have it happen.
Chief, Laura, question. You had mentioned a while back about station number 4. I had asked
That is correct, and so that is something that we're going to handle through our facility maintenance account. It's not something we can put it here. We can handle, you know, painting it and all that other stuff. We can handle it for that. Yes. Now, what like we had discussed, it's been I think at least a couple of months since the last time you asked. You know, we're trying to be as prudent as we can in how much we're investing in that facility. It does need a lot of, you know, TLC. Is one of our oldest facilities, but at the same time, in the next handful of years, we're looking at that next transition out of that location. And so, again, trying to be prudent on how much we invest in it. But what you're requesting is something that we're going to be able to handle with our facility maintenance account.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Y'all wanna take a 2-minute break? Sure. I have to.
If I start
Sorry.
tomorrow,
Well, thank you. Actually, I'm pretty excited to be here. It's pretty great to be able to represent IT for the city. I will tell you that I did ask for quite a bit. I think, as you can see on the total capital outlay, I requested 1.6 million. You can see the city manager approved 600 and some. It's a little deceiving because some of the money was taken out and moved out of general fund to the technology fund. So there's several items here that even though it shows 1.6 requested, 600 approved, there's actually 400,000 or 500,000 that funds were transferred to different areas, either to the enterprise accounts or to the technology fund. So really, there's only about 550,000 out of the total capital expenditure that are requested that was not approved. And one big chunk, after talking with Roy and Jeff on it, one big piece, it was one item, was 450,000 were for network switches. The city has about 450 network switches in every building. Every computer, laptop, Wi-Fi, you name it, needs a network switch in order to get on the network. Think of it like an outlet, a wall outlet. You have to plug your computer into the outlet to get onto the network. That's what these switches do. They connect all those outlets. But what we're doing is we're forecasting over the next 5 years that these switches are going to become obsolete and need to be replaced due to age. So we're in no hurry. We got time. So the 450 that wasn't approved, I'm more than fine with it because we have 5 to 6 years to replace them and to replace them in phases rather than one big lump sum.
Are you going to replace them with something like similar, or they become obsolete because of age? Or?
Age.
Same thing, age, technology. Right now, some of them are 8 years, some are 10 years. They'll last about 16 years. So, you know, if we break out the 450 and divide that into 5 years or 4 years, we have plenty of time to start phasing them out. We do the same thing. It's called the technology refresh. We do the same thing with PCs.
You know, it doesn't affect us in any way.
No, the switches are still being supported. We have some spare switches on hand to hot swap them. We can send them back in for maintenance to get them repaired. So right now we're not in any danger. Like I stressed to Roy and Jeff that we have about 5 years to replace them. You know, of course, every year we delay, we have to shorten the time to replace them. And you know, we're looking as of today's cost, we're looking at about 2.2 to 2.3 million to replace all 450. So if you divide that by 5, or you divide that by 4 years or 3 years, just that dollar keeps incrementing. But we have plenty, we have time. Very thankful for the one position that I requested, the network administrator. It did get, Roy recommended it. I'm grateful for that. We have, our network has more than doubled over the last 12, 13 years. We haven't added a position to that area of IT in over 12 years. So we'll have 2 network administrators, and they are constantly busy. Think of a convention center has McAllen. Well, my network guy has to go out there, set up the Wi-Fi outside for the vendors so they can take credit card payments using the Wi-Fi inside the building so that people on their phones can connect, the vendors can connect. So quite a bit of work every time we have any type of event. The parade, McAllen. So it's quite a bit of work just keeping up. You know, we have 46 facilities, buildings throughout the city that this person has to maintain, so getting another person to help him is going to be great. So, I don't have anything. I'm very appreciative of Roy and city management and Angie for helping me prepare the budget. I'm happy.
What about that
Good to
data
see that.
center?
The what?
That data center software?
The data center software?
The failover software?
Correct. The failover software, banks use it a lot where you have 2 data centers and you want them both live instantly, so one goes down, the other one's up and running. Ours are more of a, we're live here, and the second one is a backup. We have to go turn on the servers, reprogram or point every PC to the new data center. The software is an orchestration software. It automates it automatically. A lot of banks use that. Do we need that? We don't have to have it. It just takes my department more time. You know, instead of being up in 5 minutes, we could maybe down for a day or 2 days to get the second data up and running, have everybody connected. One of the things that I'm not really stressed about it is because we're about to switch to Oracle. Oracle's in the cloud. So as long as our internet's up and running, we're up and running. And we should be going live here in the next 3 months with the new ERP solution. So our mission critical core, payroll, finance, all that's going to be in the cloud with Oracle, and they have redundant data centers.
How much was that Oracle product?
The whole ERP over 10
Yeah.
years, it was 16.7 million. Over 10 years.
And it's about to be implemented? Or?
We're about to go live. We're hoping to go live November 1st. We had initially targeted, our goal was October 1st. But very, very aggressive timeline. You know, Sergio's had a high turnover, and I would tell you, he is pushing his staff every day, not only to keep the ship sailing, but working on the ERP project. Same thing with Jerry in purchasing, grants, projects. So we said, you know what, it's not going to kill us. There's no big difference in level of effort to wait 1 more month and go live November 1st. And that's what we're pushing for.
I was going to say, congrats on your new vehicle, because I did see in here you put multiple times.
Yes.
We always get hand-me-down vehicles.
Yes, yes.
He made sure
I show you everything.
He made sure to write that in 3-4 times in there.
Yes, yes, yeah. Every year we take hand-me-down vehicles, you know, trucks.
Because he gets the most expensive equipment.
Yeah. Well, and you know, actually, the city in general, management and everybody has done a great job about recycling the vehicles and extending the life of them. That there's no more pool to grab from for hand-me-downs. So I'm at a point to where the vehicle died on us. Fleet can't repair it, or they recommend not to
I
repair
wish we
it.
could do hand-me-downs to the fire department. We can't. Those are expensive.
Yeah. No, but yes, very excited about the vehicle.
Well, if you need some lounge
In the
chairs, they got
PUB,
some
they
to
used
retire.
to land in the wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah.
The PUB, they land in the wastewater treatment plant. And here he goes to the IT.
So any questions?
Thank you so much.
Wow. Man, I thought you were gonna have a bunch.
I thought you were all going to be hard on
That's
me.
the second fun department.
That's all we got, Mayor.
All we have for today?
Yes, sir.
This workshop is adjourned.